I served in Cu Chi, Ninh province in Vietnam, March of 1968 to March of 1969. I grew up in Levittown, New York. I went to high school, Levittown Memorial High School. I graduated in 1965. A lot of my friends had enlisted, and things weren't working out so well with me in college, and I decided that I should join the service and serve my country like my friends were doing. Well, I served first in Germany, an artillery unit, and then I was sent to Vietnam. Cu Chi would be, I guess, more like the southern part of Vietnam. Tay Ninh is more northwest, closer to the Cambodian border. Hot, very hot, very humid, and but as far as the people, the country, it looked like something that was set back 1,000 years. You know, huts and oxen and land that wasn't being used or built upon or anything. Well, of course, there was a very bad, language barrier, but for the most part, they were very nice. They worked like in the mess halls and things like that. In our case, like I said, it was to stop people from giving information to the enemy that was being used to pinpoint where certain American soldiers were going to be during the day or evening, and how to kill them. The first time I had the shakes. But other than that, I had no problem completing the mission I was supposed to do. At that point, I was 21. I mean, it was rough, I guess. I mean, I guess they tried their best to provide us with beer when we were, like in the base camp. And they would have like these stand downs, and you'd have like, try to have like, all the steak you wanted to eat or something like that on certain days. They tried their best, but it was rough because there was constant, rocketing and mortaring and rocketing of like our base camp. So you try to do like a normal routine, but rocket and mortars were coming in. You had to go down in the bunkers sometimes and stay down in there for 2-3 days at a time or hours at a time. And people were dying just walking across the base camp. The rocket would kill them, or things like that. So it was rough, I guess. It was rough. Very little, very few. There was a lot of racial tension when I was there between the African Americans and the white people, white guys and the African Americans. A lot of racial tension. But the worst time, of course, was when Martin Luther King, was assassinated, and that really brought the peak out. The peak of like separation with the white guys and the black guys, and it took a while before there was a little more in base camp, a little more interaction, and then some of the African American guys still didn't want to associate with the white guys unless they absolutely had to, like were ordered to. Do something with them, like go out on a mission or do a work detail. But I did experience, there were times, don't get me wrong, where yes, everybody seemed to kind of like band together at certain times and forget about what else was going on in the world and try and concentrate on helping each other through. But it wasn't like a long lasting thing like they showed in, Band of Brothers, where they were always together and always had each other's back, and you know what I mean? Life was kind of rough, starting with when I was getting ready to get on a plane to come back to New York. I just finished my time in Vietnam. I was just released from active duty, had a dress uniform on, I was feeling very proud about serving my country and surviving the year. And I'm waiting in an airport to get on my plane to come home in San Francisco. And this woman walks up to me around 50-ish and says, "Oh, are you just back from Vietnam?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." You know, proud, "Yes, ma'am." And she kind of like cleared her throat, and then she spit on my left shoe and said, "You baby killer piece of shit," and walked away from me. In the airport, there was people standing all around, and nobody said a word, did anything. And I didn't know what happened, what that was all about. Because we didn't know what was going on back here in the country. All the anti-war demonstrations, all the hate against Vietnam veterans and stuff. So it was rough, starting with that day. It was rough. Not my friends, you know, not my friends, although some of them were kind of, I noticed, a little leery of maybe asking me too many questions. And then there were some people who didn't want to even hang out with me because they found out I'd been, you know, in Vietnam and I'd seen some combat, you know. It got easier for me in certain ways because I knew who was still a good person, who wasn't, you know. Who was judging me a certain way when it was totally untrue, and who wasn't judging me, you know. Hated him. To this day, I hate him. I think it was one of the biggest disgraces this country has ever seen. People marching in the streets, calling Vietnam veterans guys baby killers and, you know, pieces of crap and, you know, drug addicts and, you know, I thought it was the biggest disgrace. And it's a big disgrace that people let it go on. Well, I guess getting used to not jumping every time I heard like something that was like sounded like it was whistling or making a loud noise, or fireworks are the worst. To this day, I still have trouble. I don't like being surprised by fireworks explosions, you know. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not even from our own government, who we served and put our lives on the line for. Not from the people that we did serve and try and protect against communism. No, no support. The title of my book is If Irony Was Gold. I started writing it in 2005 and it was published in 2006. It was a good thing. The more I wrote and the more I told stories of my, you know, growing up and Vietnam and coming back and everything, it really was a very good experience. It was very good for me. It was a good release. But like, as far as myself, and I think probably a lot of other Vietnam veterans, people have the wrong idea, I think, about, because it was 3.5 million men served in Vietnam. And I'm sure that I'm not alone when I say I have absolutely no regrets, no guilt, no regrets or anything for my time over there. I'm not saying I wouldn't have rather been somewhere else, but while I was there and my service and my time, I have no regrets. And for anything that I did over there, I had to do. And I am very proud that I'm still proud to this day that I served my country. I just want people to know that. So.